on how the countdown went is Lauren Shriver, Launch Integration Manager and Chairman of the Mission Management Team, and Jim Harrington, the Space Shuttle Launch Director at Kennedy Space Center. And we'll begin first with Lauren. Lauren?
Good morning, and the Space Shuttle program is very pleased this morning to have Endeavour on orbit again. After a couple months of not doing this, it's good to be back here again and to be able to share some of the launch countdown with you. This countdown seemed like an extremely smooth count, and that goes all the way back to really a couple of weeks ago. We've had I think a minimum amount of activity in these final days of preparation, and that continued right on through the countdown. And this morning, right at the moment of sunrise, you saw us lift off and a beautiful ascent with some very neat lighting effects on the plume and the shuttle and the boosters as we climbed into orbit. We're happy that our international crew, along with the Spartan and the Space Hab, are now on orbit, and they'll be able to open the doors and lay out the experiments and go to work. And we're happy to have them there. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Lauren. Jim?
Good morning also. As Lauren said, the count was really a smooth countdown. We really only had one minor problem in that when we were LOX loading the pump that pushes liquid oxygen into the tank went into what we call a revert condition, which shuts it down and we stop loading. And that happened when we transitioned from fast fill to replenish. And it turns out it looks like it's going to be a software problem within the control logic of the loading sequencer, that there was a slight timing problem in there, that it was looking for a fast speed, and of course the command had already given it a command to go slow, and subsequently it got itself confused and just stopped everything. But it didn't cost us anything other than about 10 minutes of extra time as far as LOX loading was concerned, and from that point on we had a very smooth count. The team did a great job, and you saw the results at 6:30.
All right, we'll take questions now. We'll start first at Kennedy Space Center, and please give your name and affiliation when the microphone comes to you, all right? We'll start here in the front with Sue.
Sue Butler, Associated Press. Are you all celebrating not only with beans and ham, but with Coke?
Well, I don't know how many of the launch team are or not. I did have the beans and ham, though.
Well, was Coke served with it? Even if you didn't?
Not where I was, no.
Strictly just the beans, Sue.
All right, Joe?
Joe Walsh, Mutual Broadcasting. Again, one minor problem seems to be with an auxiliary power unit. How concerned are you about this, and what does this say about these APUs?
As you probably heard, during ascent, APU-2 had a water spray boiler that apparently showed fairly classic freeze-up signature, and I don't believe we got a response on either controller. They finally did shut the APU down. In terms of what we do now during the mission, I know we will talk a good deal about the APU and what status we should assign to it. Most likely, as you know, we've seen these things in the past. There'll be some debate about whether to use it on APU hot fire or not, but typically we don't run the hot fire long enough to heat up enough to really use it. And also, typically that being the case, we've usually just delayed starting this particular APU until the tame on the reentry, and then again it runs through landing and really doesn't get warm enough to call the water spray boiler into play. So we've got a couple of options that we can look at there. But you're right, apparently we haven't yet broken the code on this water spray boiler freeze-up thing, even though we've done a couple of things to try to get beyond it.
Is there any chance that this could shorten the mission from its 10-day goal?
I think we'll have to talk about it, but at the moment, I don't see anything that would point that direction, no.
Seth?
Seth Bornstein, Orlando Sentinel. Just to follow up on that, when will be a decision made? When will a decision probably be made on saying, "Hey, it won't do anything"? And further, can you compare this to a previous flight APU problem? I mean, is this much less serious?
Well, we've seen the freeze-up signature in the water spray boiler during ascent. Well, actually, a number of times before. Therefore, I don't assign it right now, at least, any more severity than what we've had in the past. And as to the timing on the decision, again, I just can't give you a definite date yet.
Any further questions? Justin?
Justin Ray with the Free Press Standard. Can you characterize the 78 flow? Are you tight, and is June 20th doable?
78 flow is vehicle is ready to come out of the OPF next week. In fact, it'll roll over on Tuesday and then go to the pad the following week, and we're in great shape. We're set right now to go June 20th.
Steve?
Stephen Young with Reuters. Have you encountered any problems with the APU before where you were not able to flush out any ice or heat it up enough to free the icing before you shut it down on ascent, or is that in particular unusual to this incident today?
Well, let's see. I'm trying to recall if we've ever had exactly this situation or not. I don't recall right off if we got through trying both controllers without a signature of beginning to cool the oil and the fluid. I'll have to research that some more and get you an answer. I don't recall.
And just how crucial is the water spray boiler to the APU?
Well, it becomes real critical if you want to run the APU for, say, a normal length entry. We like to have it on to control the temperature of the APU oil and the hydraulic fluid. And if that's not done, of course, then you would end up shutting down that APU if you don't get cooling. If you delay starting up the APU and only run it for the length of time that you think you really require it, such as tame, then typically it doesn't even get warm enough to call into play the water spray boiler. So you sort of bypass the requirement to have it.
We just got some input from the flight director, and he says for his input to it that he does not expect that it would shorten the flight duration, and that they do expect to use it for the hot fire, at least at this point in time, at this juncture. Further questions? Phil?
Phil Chen for Lauren. Now that Dan Birch has broken his record, 3 new Block 1 engines, have you heard anything on the loop about how well they worked? Obviously, they hit their targets, right? Any concerns of any kind that you hear on the loops?
I did not hear any comments about anything abnormal at all about engine operation. So, as far as I know, things were nominal, performance nominal. Of course, detailed data review will happen in the next couple of days. But right now, anyway, a quick look would say it was all good.
Irene?
Irene Brown, UPI, for Lauren Shriver. It's kind of a big picture question. With 52 launches since Challenger and a fairly good string now of relatively trouble-free countdowns, do you see a day down the road when launching shuttles is routine? And if so, do you have any idea of when that will be?
I guess that's a fairly difficult question to answer because at least I personally don't approach launches as routine. I don't think there's any such thing. Every launch deserves due care and attention by everybody involved in it. And if it becomes standard that everybody automatically devotes that due care and attention, then I don't know, maybe that definition is routine, but I don't think it gets there in this kind of business. Everybody is really focused on the event when it comes time.
Todd?
Todd Halverson of Florida Today for Lauren. There are 4 rendezvous on this flight, which I believe is a record for the shuttle program. I was wondering if you could comment on the difficulty involved in the piloting tasks, considering the number of rendezvous and the amount of propellant that is on board this flight.
Well, I think the rendezvous technique that's laid out is pretty standard. Doing 4 of them, of course, and the coordination that involves for the crew offers plenty of opportunities to excel, and I think the crew will be up to that. There's some differences in in the station keeping techniques. Some of the station keeping is very precise. Has very precise pointing requirements, so hopefully all of that will go well. But I think the crew is trained, I know, well for the tasks that it has to go do.
Have we any further questions? Yes.
Mark Decotis from Florida Today. This is Endeavor's last flight before it goes to California for refurbishment. Has this orbiter lived up to its expectations? How would you grade it and its flight so far and its performance?
I can take part of that, and Jim, you can chime in. I think it's done outstanding. It's held right in there and done every flight from its first up through this one has gone quite well, and all of our orbiters, of course, are getting older, and we need to keep paying attention to those pieces of data that tell us we need to work in certain areas, and the water spray boiler being one of them. There's obviously some things we need to go look at what's happening there to see if we can discover what the key is. But those are the kinds of things I think that will keep our good record with the orbiters going, is the attention to those kind of details.
Yes.
Andrew Soleimani, Florida Tech. Has Getaway Special activation begun yet? If so, any problems with it?
Let's see. We probably can get you a timeline on that. I think it's a little early just yet to have those cranked up, but there may be some of them activated a little later today.
Excuse me?
Perhaps with the barrow switch.
If there was a barrel switch on one of them, I'm not familiar with all the details of every one of them, but if there was a barrel switch, it was probably activated by now.
Any further questions? All right, we have none at the other centers, so that will conclude the briefing. Thank you.